I was born when the moon bled red over the 5 cities of Philistia. My mother, a temple dancer of Dagon, swore the god himself sewed me in her womb. The priests measured me at birth, already the length of a grown man's spear. They oiled my limbs and laid me on a sharkskin mat, whispering that I would be the fist that closed around my enemies. From the moment I could stand, they raised me like a Spartan whelp, only crueler. At 5 winters I was taken from my mother's arms and marched barefoot to the iron yards behind the temple. They're all the boys of giant blood, sons of Anakim, Rephaim, and Nephilim, were forged into weapons. Dawn bell. We ran the cliff path above the great sea, weighted with ox yokes on our shoulders. If you miss a step and the tide would take you away. At midday, the bronze drum. We fought in pairs with ashwood clubs until bones cracked like green reeds. Losers ate dust and drank gall. At dusk, the chain. They hung us by the wrists from cedar beams and lashed us with salted ropes until we learned to laugh at pain. At night, the pit, a circle of fire. We recited the names of every enemy we would one day kill, the Amalekite, Jebusite, and the Hebrew, while the overseer branded the tally of our kills on our ribs with a hot iron needle. Mine, even at 10, read 7. At 12 I stood 7 feet tall. They gave me my first iron, a leaf-bladed sword longer than a man is tall. I named her the Widowmaker. That summer we raided the caravans of Midian. I remember the taste of their fear, coppery, like blood left in the sun. I took my first scalp from a prince who begged in 3 languages. I kept his gold torque and wore it as a thumb ring. At 15 I fought the Egyptians at the brook of Besor. Their chariots came on like bronze locusts. I stood in the front rank, shield locked with my brothers. When the arrows fell, they rang off my scale coat like hail on tile. I stepped into the gap where 3 of my men had fallen, swung the Widowmaker in a full circle, and harvested 6 heads in one breath. The Nile horses screamed when my spear pinned a driver to his own wheel. Pharaoh's herald wrote my name in hieroglyphs, Goliath, eater of armies. At 17 I crushed the rebellion in Ashkelon. The rebels had hidden in the warren of Divats. I waded through purple muck up to my thighs, dragging men out by their beards. One captain as tall as Saul and quick as a panther nearly gutted me with a hidden dagger. I caught his wrist, broke it backward, and used his own blade to open him from navel to nose, bathing my feet in hot blood, intestines, and feces. The vats ran red that day, and the fish in the harbor grew fat. At 19, I met the Amalekites in the Negeb. They rode camels and shot from the saddle. I learned to hook their reins with a weighted chain, yank rider to ground, and stomp the life from him before the beast bolted. I took 100 ears and strung them on a cord I wore across my chest. Year after year the tally climbed. Moabite princes, Edomite slingers, Canaanite sea kings, none could stand in my shadow. My armorers beat out a coat of overlapping scales, each hammered from the shield of a dead champion. My helmet was the prowbeak of a captured Cretan galley. My spearhead, 600 shekels of blackened iron, was forged from the melted chains of 1,000 slaves. By my 25th year I had forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. Kings sent tribute so I would not walk their roads. Mothers hushed children with my name. I slept on a bed of enemy banners and dreamed of the day I would drag Saul's crown through the dust of Gath. I wake before the sun the way I always do. The camp is still snoring under goat hair blankets, but my joints ache from yesterday's march, and the bronze greaves chafe where the leather has worn thin. 9 feet of man needs more than the quartermaster gives. I strap on the scale coat, 58 shekels of bronze stitched to linen, and feel the familiar drag across my shoulders. The spear goes across my back like a pine trunk. The sword at my hip could fence a courtyard. Haraph, my shield-bearer, scampers ahead with the great wicker shield painted with Dagon's fishtail. I step onto the stones that have heard my challenge at every dawn and at every dusk. I am Goliath of Gath, champion of the 5 cities. For 40 mornings I have walked the same furrow between the armies, 40 mornings of shouting the same words into the same wind. Today the wind smells of dust and fear. I step into the valley. My shadow stretches long enough to swallow 3 men. Across the wadi the Israelites huddle behind their shields, little bronze beetles on a hillside. I plant my feet, fill my chest, and roar. Choose a man, let him come down. If he kills me, we will be your slaves. If I kill him, you will be ours. The echo bounces off the cliffs and dies. No one moves. I have done this so often I can taste their panic sharp like unripe olives. I wait for the usual shuffle of retreat. In the valley of Allah, the Israelite line is silent, as always. I open my mouth to roar the ritual words. And I see him. A single figure detaches from their line and starts downhill. A boy. No armor, a shepherd's crook, a pouch of stones, and eyes like the furnaces of Gaza. His tunic is sun-bleached, his sandals patched with twine. He looks 12, maybe 14. The kind of runt we trade for a skin of wine. I laugh so hard my ribs creak. Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? He keeps walking. The sling begins to whisper against his thigh. I feel the first prickle of something unfamiliar. Not fear, never that, but curiosity. Why is he smiling? Is this the best Saul can send? I bellow, and the echo bounces off both ridges. Come, my little lamb, I have killed taller men before their beards grew. He walks straight at me, counting stones the way I once counted ears. He stops 30 paces away, close enough that I can see the dust on his eyelashes. His voice is steady, almost gentle. The runt speaks. You come with sword and spear and javelin. I come in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of these armies you have defied. Today he will deliver you into my hand, and all the earth will know there is a God in Israel. Saul mocks me, I thought, grip tightening on my spear's ash shaft. He sends a lamb to face the lion. My chainmail, 60 shekels of iron pressed hot against my chest. Sweat stung the scar across my ribs from some forgotten skirmish. Pride flared hotter than the sun on my bronze greaves. I'll split him, hang his carcass for the vultures, and end this siege by supper. I charge. A child in a sling. I sneered, a pebble against a wall of Gath. I heft the spear that has drunk the blood of nations. The memories of 1,000 battlefields roar in my ears. The crack of Egyptian chariot wheels, the wet slap of Midianite heads on sand, the copper stink of Ashkelon's dye vats. The valley narrows to a tunnel of dust and bronze. 20 paces. 10. I draw the spear back, every muscle remembering the perfect arc that has ended princes and kings. The stone spun, a gray blur humming like an angry hornet. I shifted to crush him mid-stride, then it struck. Not a tap, but like a hammer of the gods. Bone shattered, white fire lanced behind my eyes. No, the world tilted. My spear slipped from numb fingers, thudding like a felled tree. Blood poured warm over my beard. A boy, a shepherd boy, knees hit stone. The roar of my own heartbeat drowned the cheers of my men. Not like this. Darkness rushed in, swallowing 9 feet of fury into a shepherd's shadow. The boy stands over me. His shadow is now massive and cool on my face. I try to speak, to tell him of the iron yards, the chain, the pit, the ears, the heads, the rivers I turned red. My tongue is like a stone, heavy in my mouth. The boy lifts my sword, my beloved widowmaker, heavy enough to cleave an ox, and the blade catches the sun like a promise. The last sound I hear is the wind combing through the terebinths, the same wind that once carried the scent of my enemies, fear, across the Negeb. Then darkness, thick as Philistine bronze, swallows the giant whole. I was the giant. Goliath of Gath, he was just a boy. Dagon, my God, has left me. Was Dagon not strong enough to defeat this God of the Hebrews? In one heartbeat, I learned. The proud fall when the humble dare to stand with the one true and living God of the Hebrews.